Hey guys, welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Championship here from San Francisco. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and in the booth I have, well, a pair of Hall of Famers here. I've got Randy Buehler and Luis Scott Vargas. We've got a heck of an event lined up over the next 3 days. This is a special event for when you look at the whole year. This is one of those events that can easily get shuffled away, but absolutely shouldn't. This is one of the premier high-level Magic events that we're going to have for the year.
Which is funny because there's no shuffling on Magic Online.
That is a good point, yeah. So we're going to be playing this entire event on Magic Online, and basically the way that players get here is, well, Randy, why don't you walk us through how they get here?
Yeah, I think we've got some slides to put up, right?
We do.
During the entire year, everyone who's playing events on Magic Online can win QPs. Mm-hmm. Those qualifying points can be used to earn spots here at the Mox. So top 16 players. Well, let's look at the schedule first. That's the first slide we've got queued up. So it's a 16-player tournament. We're going to start out with a cube draft. We'll go into Modern. It's 7 rounds each day. And at the end of those 14 rounds across fully 4 different formats, the top 4 players come back on Sunday. And then Sunday is standard decks to give away. I'm pretty sure the next slide has it, a ton of money.
Yeah, it's just a ton of money. And there's even more, Luis, than just the money that you see at stake here.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. First is $25,000, but first is realistically closer to like $40,000 if you look at the fact that you get invited to next year's Magic Online Championship and you get invited to the actual World Championships.
Right.
And both those tournaments are, obviously fantastic tournaments to play in. They're both 16-player events. Though I guess this year the World Championships is now 24 players.
Still.
But either way, they're both events that have a very good payout and very small field and a really elite field. So getting first is definitely a lot bigger than it looks, but all the other prizes are also pretty good. I mean, I've never played in a minimum $4,000 prize tournament.
Not bad.
Right. If you notice, 9th through 16th, that's
last place.
Last, yeah. It gets $4,000. And they also get a complete standard digital set, just to throw a little cherry on that particular Sunday. So, so as you can see, this is a very, very, remember, we're talking about a 16-player tournament with a $25,000 top prize. You just don't get that very often.
No.
The World Championship comes to mind as one of the only other ways that you can get that kind of value.
Yeah, it really is the culmination of an entire year of play on Magic Online.
Right. And essentially, you have to win a tournament to get into this tournament.
Right, and you had to win a bunch of other tournaments to, I don't know, I get my QPs one at a time. I'm usually in the 8-man draft queues.
Yeah,
you play some of the bigger events, you can get, 3, 4, 5 of them at a time.
Yeah. And a really cool thing about tournaments like this and the World Championship is that playing a 4-format tournament is just awesome. I mean, it is a lot of fun to get to come in with multiple constructed decks, play multiple limited formats, one of which is Cube.
Right.
It's just a special thing. I mean, even if you don't look at the prizes, the fact that you're getting to play all these formats and think about all these different things is really awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to get a chance. We showed it a second ago, but we're going to see standard on Sunday, and we're also going to see it on Saturday. We're also going to see Modern, Cube, and Born of the Gods Theros draft. So there's something for everybody here. And interestingly, it's going to be pretty skill testing compared to even like a Pro Tour, which is a split format, that's already pretty tough to test for. What is it like coming into a format that, a tournament that has 4 formats?
So I played a tournament like this. I played the World Championships, the first one that was called the Players Championship that year. And our formats were, it was actually 3, but our formats were Cube, M13 draft, and Standard.
Right.
Or Modern rather, no Standard. But it was a lot of preparation. I mean, the fact that you have to prepare for multiple constructed formats here is even harder than what we did, and it was really tough already. You kind of assume that you know the current draft format. Like, I doubt these competitors needed to do too much extra work to, practice.
It depends which competitor you're talking about.
That's true. So, some of them are not limited aficionados, but
yes,
I would say like in general that you're going to concentrate more on the constructed part, but Cube is also really tough. My vote is that Cube is the toughest format here.
Wow.
If you don't know what's going on in Cube, it's really easy to get buried.
Yeah, and
that's fair.
And we're actually going to be seeing Cube first. So why don't we talk a little bit about Cube draft? So, Randy, why don't you give just a quick overview? There's a few people out there still that haven't cubed.
Sure. So Cube is a variant on Booster Draft. But instead of booster drafting out of, the packs that you could go buy at the store, Wizards has put together a list of 720 cards. They're sort of evenly divided across the colors. And then the idea with Cube is that they're usually all-stars from throughout the history of time, and there's only one copy of each card in the cube. So, you open up a pack and there's a Jackal Pup. That's the Jackal Pup. There's no more coming.
Right.
But, there might be a Goblin Guide. There might be a bunch of other things. So 720 card list. And, the Magic Online Cube has been relatively stable for the last year or two. I mean, every time a new set comes out, Wizards will mix it up and put in, another 5, 10, maybe 15 cards from the latest set just to shake things up a little bit. But basically, you've got this 720 card set, and you just draft it over and over and over again. Now, at 720, that means that the odds of any one card from that list appearing in a draft is about 50-50. I think it's exactly 50-50. So if you know the list, that helps. But really, I'm with Luis. You have to kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, your first cube draft is just, what is this? Especially, if you don't know the cards, it helps if you've been playing as long as we have, and you saw these cards back when they were in their original draft formats, their original constructed formats. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's one of the toughest formats out there, maybe probably the toughest format in this event. Also, in my opinion, the most fun.
It's the sweetest.
Yeah.
I love a good cube draft.
Yeah. Let's take a look. We've actually got a slide for you that shows some of the recent changes for those of you that draft on Magic Online in the cube. You can see the stuff that came in and the stuff that came out. So that's just something that you can sort of get a feel for. But, Luis, we do see there's a lot of redundancy in the cube, right? You just mentioned there's Jackal Pup. Well, then there's also Goblin Guide, and you can go down the list of a lot of cards that sort of replace themselves.
I like these examples.
Yes. And what that ultimately means is there's a lot of there's archetypes that you can draft, right?
Yeah, and I think that your base tendency that what people always do in their first cube is to come in and draft a good stuff deck, and like we were mentioning before, that is actually not a very good idea. I don't think. I think
in this particular cube.
Well, I think just in cubes in general. I mean, this one for sure. Basically, the cube is full of good cards.
Right.
If you draft a deck that's just a pile of good cards, you're going to lose to someone who has a pile of good cards that also have a plan.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that you want to be looking for, decks that have a good plan, and whether that plan is attacking with Goblin Guide or casting Molten Rain or Sulfuric Vortex.
I see you cast a wide net when it comes to that. So, Randy, what plan do you like for this cube? I know you've been playing it quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you want to have sort of an archetype in mind that's not just a pile of good cards. So the ones I start out, given my druthers, I want to be countering things. I want to be in mono blue.
Yes.
I mean, maybe not. You rarely get mono blue, although mono blue with Vidalcan Shackles is delicious. But I'll sort of default to saying I really want to be the blue mage. And, if I can grab any of the control magics, those are usually the most powerful cards in that deck. You grab counter spells. So you wind up with this, I have counter spells and I have card drawing and I have some control magics to deal with creatures. That's just a really solid, it's essentially like a 90-0 draw go blue deck.
Right.
That's a great one. The other archetype that I always like to try to draft, if I can get it, is the Reanimator strategy.
Yes.
Giant fatties, ways to put them in the graveyard, and there's half a dozen reanimation spells. So, if you see, the Necromancy or the Animate Dead or the Recurring Nightmare, you grab one of those early, and you grab a good graveyard enabler. Like, Entomb is actually, I think, the most powerful card you can get in this deck. 1 mana instant, search your library, get the Grizzlebrand, put the Grizzlebrand into the graveyard, and then, hopefully you have, 4 or 5 ways to get it back out.
And there's
again.
A few ways to get him even turn 2 in
deck.
Yeah,
absolutely. Although, I'll let you talk about the one you've been teasing.
Yeah, so, Luis,
this is my fallback plan.
Yeah. It is. So you're known for being fond of the mono red list in Cube. Is it good in this one?
I think it's very good. One of the reasons I think it is so good is that people don't like to draft it. I think it's a little underrepresented compared to how good it is. So, I'll routinely do cube drafts, and when I'm not drafting it, I'll see a Fire Blast with 2 cards left in the pack. I'll see a 7th pick Goblin Guide pack 1.
Right.
And if the red deck's underdrafted, it's, I think, the best deck because it's so consistent and so fast.
Okay. I describe it as depressingly good.
Right.
Yeah, it is. And it is interesting because what you see is when people draft Cube on Magic Online, a lot of times their main goal is to enjoy themselves, right? And a lot of it really is. I know that might be foreign to you, but normally I think when you play just a normal queue on Magic Online, your goal is to win it, right? I mean, most of especially the players here, but since it's Phantom and since the prize payouts are a little bit different, right? They're lower stakes. It's kind of like, well, maybe I'll just draft something really sweet so that I can take a screenshot and show my friends. But that's not what we're doing here, right? We're drafting for. This is very high stakes cube. I mean, we're not messing around here when it comes to it. So the question becomes, if red is that good, and if people generally try to avoid it for fun reasons, that's out the door here. Are we going to see multiple players scrapping it out trying to get the red deck? And how does that work if they do?
Well, there's 2 things. One is that I like casting Molten Rain, so I draft it for fun. But
winning is fun, right?
The second is that Mono Red's win percentage just falls off a cliff when you add another color. It's not draft a red-based aggro. It's draft mono-red, actually.
Okay.
So if we see that, like, 2 players are trying to do that, 2 players are trying to draft mono-red, I don't think it's going to go well for them.
Okay.
You can have one player drafting mono-red, one player drafting red X, and I think that'll be fine. But if they're both really going after the Blistering Firecats and Fire Blasts and, Keldon Champions, I think that those players are going to be trouble. They're going to end up 5 or 6 cards short, have to play another color, and then the power level just goes down a lot. So it'll be interesting to see if people do jump onto mono red because of that. But I mean, there are other decks. It's not mono red is not the end of the line.
I will say though that I think everyone agrees that mono deck is incredibly good. I mean, I think if you ask people what the best deck in the cube is, mono red would probably win that. And it's going to be a lot harder to get with these stakes, though. I mean, I think that in a normal draft, you can force it. It usually works. Like you said, sometimes nobody drafts it, even though it's there. With these stakes, though, these guys are going to want to get it. Like, you're not going to take a draft deck that's more fun and eschew the, the mono red deck. I think there's a real danger of people just train wrecking their draft because, 3 people at the table sit down and try to force Jackal Pups.
So, and it is interesting because what you just said, Luis, is that, red with something else is perhaps not as good, especially if you're trying to be, the mono red list. So if somebody does sort of dip their toe in and say, okay, well, I'll take the Bolt and I'll take a, whatever, and they've got a few things, and then it's starting to become pretty apparent to them that they're not the only one and that this isn't going to work. How good is the recovery plan from there? I mean, we are in cube. Average card quality quite high.
It depends on which cards they've picked up. I mean, use Bolt as an example. That's actually one of the cards that's good in almost any deck that can cast it. But if you say Goblin Guide or Sulfuric Vortex, once you're out of the mono red deck, no deck really wants those.
Right.
You can speculate with like a 2nd or 3rd pick Goblin Guide. Like I'll do that sometimes. I'll take a 2nd or 3rd pick Goblin Guide or like what's the artifact that makes all the red spells give it a counter to deal with
Shrine of Burning Rage.
So good. Shrine of Burning Rage might be the best card in the mono red deck.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. So if you speculate and you've only sort of you dip your toe in for a couple of picks, cube is deep enough that if you give up soon enough, you can just, okay, fine, my 2nd pick's in my sideboard, maybe 2 or 3 picks are in my sideboard. I can still build a good deck out of that, especially if you get past, 6th pick Entomb or something.
Sure.
Right.
Now, as somebody who's played mono red quite a bit, Luis, what's the deck you don't want to see on the other side?
The main deck you don't want to play against is the mid-range green decks that have Kitchen Finks or Obstinate Baloth.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing.
Courser of Crewfix now.
Yeah, Courser of Crewfix, Thrun the Last Troll. Like, the dorky creatures that my control decks don't care about all that much are the ones that really murdered a red deck.
Yeah.
Fair.
And then there's also the random hate cards. I mean, there's like, Silver Knight or that sort of thing that is just tough for red to deal with in general.
Yeah. My blue decks take the blue elemental blast very high.
Yes.
That one's so good.
You need something, right?
Yeah. Look, one of the things that I think red can also struggle with is the Broken Reanimator deck.
Yeah.
Any deck that's doing something really broken and really fast,
Mm-hmm.
the red deck is not going to be that resilient to, but the average cube deck doesn't do that. I mean, red is going to be faster in almost any other cube draft. One archetype that we haven't talked about yet that I actually really like, but Randy had said you haven't liked as much, is the green ramp deck. And that's actually, I actually drafted it yesterday. That's where you're trying to draft basically all 1 and 2 cost ramp spells, and then 5 and 6 cost plus, big spells, and not much in the middle. I don't think those decks want to play.
So you spend your early game developing your mana, and then all of a sudden you're casting stuff that's just much bigger and better than your opponent.
Yeah, there's actually kind of like 2 green ramp decks. One is the Llanowar based ones that's trying to pick up like Gaia's Cradle or Edric Spymaster, and opposition is obviously one of the biggest driving cards in the cube. And then there's the actual straight up ramp deck that's just going for like the Nature's Lore and that sort of thing into Plow Under or Primal Command or Terrastodon or Sundering Titan. And
so what are your early picks to get into this archetype?
Mostly the mana ramp. I think the mana ramp is the stuff that you.
So you'll take like you'll first pick a Jiraka Tree Speaker. Or?
Oh yeah, Jiraka Tree Speaker is really good. Yeah. I think that you're happy if you can take ramp for first couple picks, and then cards like Eternal Witness and Plow Under always wheels, and Plow Under is really if you cast a turn 3 or 4 Plow Under, it's actually brutal.
Yeah.
And then you get to actually cast cards like Sundering Titan or Terrastodon that are, pretty hard to beat if they resolve. And then there are ways this deck can be resilient against counters, though it generally doesn't want to play against the blue-based decks.
So you're the reason the Terrastodon doesn't come back to me in my Reanimator deck?
Exactly, yeah.
Got it.
The honest way of getting into play.
Now, how high does this go, though? Like, so we're talking about Terrastodons and things that cost 8-ish mana. Can we get up to Eldrazi range?
Unless you have Channel, I generally don't like playing Eldrazi. So
or there's a Sneak Attack, there's a Show and Tell.
Yeah.
I have Show and Tell them. There's 3 Eldrazi in the cube.
Yeah.
Right? Emrakul is there. Like the whole Sneak and Show combo is there.
Yes.
Yeah, you basically don't
Eureka.
want to plan on casting any of them except potentially Kozilek. Kozilek's sometimes castable. The rest, I mean, if that's your plan, I don't think it's a good one.
Have you done turn 2 channel into Emrakul?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It's awesome. It never actually resolves. Somehow he never gets off the stack.
Right.
I don't know why, but
yeah, he
somehow we're shuffling up for game 2 before he actually gets into
There's
play.
always his extra turn sitting there when the concession comes in, or maybe they let you click OK once and then it's over. But yeah, so this is going to be sweet. So we're going to be watching Bing Luke draft his cube deck. Now, Bing is somebody who's been here
It's
two
his third time
other
in this event,
times,
right? This is what, the 5th one of these championships we've had?
I
he's
think.
playing number 3?
Yeah, he's kind of a beast when it comes to qualifying for the Magic Online
looks like we have
Championship, which
cards.
we have, and I think we're actually ready to go down right now. So let's head down to Bing Luke to watch him cube draft.
All right. Well, there are some pretty sweet blue cards in this pack.
Yeah, there are. There's a lot of them, though.
Yeah, I mean, which one do you guys like best? I think that my top 2 would be Jace Bellerin and Master of Waves, and or actually Glenelg Archmage. So all 3 of those are fine first picks.
It's annoying to have 3 that are similarly powered.
Definitely.
Like, they're not the top 5 or maybe not even the top 10 blue cards, but they're all kind of on the edge there.
I actually like where Bing's going here. He's got the Grave Titan. Yeah, and I was
looking at that. I'll buy that.
I feel like the Titans are somehow still underrated in the cube. Sometimes you just cast a Titan on turn 6 and they're just ridiculous.
Yeah, so he wanted to stay away from the Blue Trant Karn.
He picked up a Karn and a Demonic Tutor here out of this pack. There's also a Thran Dynamo sitting down there,
I actually really don't like Demonic Tutor in the cube unless you're in Reanimator.
Oh, okay.
Because almost any card that you're paying extra 2 mana for, I don't think is worth it.
Okay.
I see. But
it
when
has
you're
to be a combo.
Unless you're like really comboing.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I think the majority of my black decks are Reanimators, which is why
would
Demonic
make sense.
Tutor is...
I would generally... I think I would be leaning towards the Dynamo here. Karn is so good, though. Karn is actually one of the best expensive cards you can get.
Yes. You would second pick Dynamo over Karn?
Probably not, actually.
Okay.
Like, I would want to, but I think Karn is probably... I would generally take Dynamo over a big spell, but I think Karn is actually one of the top big spells in the cube.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
So you've kind of got to get there.
Oh, he went straight to Pristine Talisman?
That's interesting. I mean, he's reserved it. I guess he could change his mind, but there's actually not a ton here that he has to go for.
I mean, I guess with Karn, he really does want to ramp.
Yeah, and this also keeps him open. Like, he's not picking a second color. I mean, he might be consciously avoiding blue, considering he passed 3 pretty fantastic blue cards
that
already.
first pack, you've either got to go in on blue and fight for it, or you've got to just ship that problem down the line and let everybody else fight each other for it. Ramping into Grave Titan and Karn, those are 2 great things to ramp into.
And Pristine Talisman is a good ramp spell because it keeps you alive, while you get there. Then, and
I like Blood Gift Demon. I see that card go much later than I expect it to go.
I do too. I think it's a pretty powerful card. I do think that black and white are the 2 worst colors in the cube, though. I think ending up black too early, has some risks inherent with it.
He did first pick a Grave Titan. He's going to go Sulphurous Springs.
Interesting.
I would Blood Gift Demon here, I think.
One of the cool things
even
about
Wrenchmind is not awful, but it'll come back.
Yeah, Wrenchmind is surprisingly powerful. One of the cool things about taking Blood Gift Demon here is I think it opens you up to playing Reanimator. Like
it kind of does.
You're not, locking yourself out of that.
He's going to go for Sulphurous Springs here, and he's going to view a pack that doesn't have a ton for him, but there's a Sylvan Library. What do you think about Library currently, Luis?
Library is a very strong card. I mean, against the decks that aren't attacking your life total, it's like basically an Ancestral Recall, if not more.
Right.
And if you ever have any shuffle effects, it also lets you, mess around with those. So I actually don't mind taking Library here. It looks like he's leaning towards
All Is Dust.
All Is Dust in order to just, ramp out with Talisman into All Is Dust and then follow it up with a Karn or a Grave Titan.
Sure.
One of the things that I think is cool about this deck so far is he doesn't have a color. I mean, he's got 3 good colorless cards that all work together. You can just ignore the Grave Titan and Sulphurous Springs and then go anywhere you want. Though I think Vampiric Tutor is a pretty good pickup here.
Do you like Vampiric better than Demonic?
No, but there's no Demonic Tutor in this pack.
All right.
I think that once you're in the space of wanting tutors, it's a fine card.
Sure.
I would say the average deck doesn't really love them, but he's got the powerful things going on. I could see things going. Is he going to take Time Spiral and draft Storm? That would be the best thing I'd
He has it selected, and he did not waste any time doing
he just
that.
snapped it off. Because Storm, we didn't talk about Storm, and that's because every time I draft Storm in this cube, I end up losing.
That's because this is not the powered cube.
Yeah.
Storm is a power cube thing in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with Randy.
I don't know. We've got a Time Spiral.
We do have Time Spiral. He took it, what, 7th?
It didn't cost him much, I don't think.
Survival
of the fittest. I mean, there's a Seagate Oracle, which I think this kind of deck really likes also, but getting the survival this late could have been an interesting way to get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, survival recur, if you can get it, is spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a variant on the Reanimator deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's the green splash Reanimator, essentially. But it is funny because that's the only green card you really want in your Reanimator decks. But
Well, there's the 2-drop that does the same
Fauna
thing.
Shaman, yeah.
Fauna Shaman.
Wrath is just a generically powerful card. I've actually been pretty impressed with how good Wrath is in this cube. So
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 rats in the cube, and it definitely is a way you can take your deck. Yeah, he seems to he wants sweepers. That's his second Wrath, right? All his dust counts.
I mean, he's got.
He's got to be Palladium Mirror here, the way he's built this.
Yeah, I mean, Palladium Mirror looks perfect for this deck.
Yeah, it does.
It's a shame that the
Mind's
Desire. Yeah.
I don't think you can really draft a cube deck in this cube. I mean, a Storm deck
Yeah,
in this cube.
I agree. It's unfortunate, but
Show and Tell's still there?
you can't show and tell in Karn though. That is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
that's true.
Murmuring Bosk is just generic mana fixing card. Like it helps cast Wrath and Grave Titan if you're into that.
Pristine Angel is pretty good, too. Like, Pristine Angel can be hard for some people to deal with.
Yeah. I don't hate taking Wrenchmind here. Grasslands is also nice because it can get the Murmuring Bosk.
Mm-hmm.
Little Rakdos Carnarium. So Bing really is not committed to a color yet. He's got 4 colorless cards and then 2 black cards.
That's the
and 1 white
nicest
card.
way you could have said that. I mean, where is he going currently?
Well, not with the Pain Seer. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what he's looking to.
Like, where does his deck end up in an ideal world is what I mean.
It's control-ish with Wraths and Fatties to follow up the Wraths with.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a ramp deck. It doesn't. It not necessarily any given color except black. There's the tendrils. Ooh, Sundering Titan I think is my favorite expensive card to cast. It is pretty easy to win once you cast a Titan. Granted, it costs 8, but looks like
he doesn't have much in the way of ramp at this point.
Yeah, he's got the mirror and the talisman.
Yeah, he's got 2 pretty colorless rampers that are decent. He's going for Day of Judgment here, though. It feels like if you want a sweeper, you can get a sweeper in this
Well, but you
cube.
want more than one. Like,
Yeah.
if that's going to be the defining way your deck plays, you want 3 or 4 of them.
This is his third. I might actually lean towards Sundering Titan here just to
Yeah,
guarantee that you have the third really big spell because he just has Titan and Karn right now, which are good, but I think Sundering Titan is a scarcer resource than a sweeper, like Marshall said.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd rather have a Sundering Titan in a route than a Day of Judgment and not Sundering Titan.
Yeah.
Right.
Here are the red cards. We didn't really see much flowing through in the red.
No,
I
it
feel
looks
like there's a red drafter on this right.
Red was definitely being taken.
I don't know how many people are fighting over it, but
That is the question. We're going to try to figure that out. Here's
Force Spike.
Force Spike. He picked that pretty quickly. There's some.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Force Spike is good. I mean,
I love it.
I wonder how good Entreat the Angels is. He's got a couple Wraths, but
Yeah.
Entreat does seem like it's a potentially powerful card here. I haven't played with it much in the cube. He's got Vampiric Tutor though. That makes me want to take Entreat pretty highly. Like vamping for Entreat end of turn when you have 7 lands in play.
If you're the white ramp deck,
yeah,
feels like Entreat has it. Although it very well may come back to him as well. There's a Reanimate. That's the card that jumped out to me, but
It's
it
too
looks
late.
like
He's not.
that ship has sailed.
I think so.
Actually, don't hate Everflowing Chalice here though. I would probably be tempted to take Marsh Flats. Just to make sure I can cast all my spells. My bar for mana fixing is pretty high in cube. I mean,
how good is Awakening Zone? I guess he's not green, but
yeah, I wouldn't go into green for it. You would definitely play it in this deck if you were that.
yeah,
color.
yeah. I mean,
think
it's
it'd
not
be
too
good.
late to go into green for ramp.
It's true.
Like he's a ramp deck. He looks like he's Esper colored ramp.
Yeah, I think the biggest departure that I think is that taking the Force Spike, I would have just taken the Entreat and tried to go straight black white just to make the mana better, but.
Here's
Sphinx's
Entreat
Revelation.
number 2 potentially. There's a Revelation. There's Decree of Justice.
There's the Doomblade he selected just to have another cheap interactive spell, which
Yes.
I actually like here.
Yep.
Somebody's going to be very happy to get that Goblin Guide. Whoever's
Yeah.
forcing red on Bing's right is
Yeah.
getting paid off.
There's also a Gatekeeper and a Necrotal. It's
Yeah, yeah.
not unreasonable that Bing wheels a decent black card out of this pack.
True.
I mean, there can't be that many.
It'll
black
be a double
drafters.
colored, but
Yeah, or triple colored.
Yeah. This is Doomblade is Bing's basically his second 2-drop. He's got an Everflowing Chalice and now a Doomblade. But it's pretty easy to forget as well. We can take a look at Bing Luke there on the screen.
And this pack is kind of a brick, except for that Bing is looks like he's just keeping the blue dream alive. So I mean, he's clearly taking black and white cards, so he's going to be Esper, I guess. But Venser is very good. I mean, I've never been unhappy to have Venser in my deck.
double blue though in this deck is. I guess he's taking mana.
If he has Force Spike, then
Yeah, fair.
and if he's really lucky, he'll wheel Caracas. Caracas Venser is a sick combo, and not very
nice.
many people want Caracas actually.
That's a fine point. There's the Grizzlebrand.
Wow.
Gristle Dead. I
Yeah,
love Trading Rider too. Trading Rider is an awesome card. Not in this deck, but in general, I think Trading Rider
Narcolepsy is
is
good.
awesome.
I don't mind a Juicy Apprentice either, but
Nothing like Cube Draft, by the way. Grizzlebrand, I'll take Narcolepsy.
Yeah.
hey, who wins in a fight? Still Grizzlebrand.
Grizzlebrand wins that fight pretty easily.
Yeah.
I kind of like Duress here. I think with the Doomblade and the Double Wrath and the All is Dust, Bing is pretty good against creatures. I would rather have the Duress for the control matchups.
Yeah, Narcolepsy Wrath of God always feels bad.
Ooh.
You gotta dismiss here, right?
Dismiss is nice. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing blue, and it looks like blue is not as cut as it could have been.
Yeah, it's weird. He shipped all the blue in pack 1, and now he's moved in pack 2.
But I mean, getting like a 6-pick Venser is pretty impressive. Venser's a good card.
It is.
So's dismiss.
Still, he doesn't have the premium blue cards at this point. Venser,
True.
Dismiss, Narcolepsy, Force Spike, Seagate, Oracle. I mean, when you look at the list of ridiculous blue cards in the cube, those aren't necessarily...
Take the blue Elemental Blast.
Yeah, I mean,
This is
You
Randy's
need to beat the
advice
red
to you.
player.
I like Chainer's Edict, but I would take the Blue Blast here. Like, he's got enough cheap removal, and Blue Blast is so swingy. The fact that you can kill any red card or counter any red spells, like, it's, I mean, obviously the perfect card against the mono red
Yeah,
deck.
now
Right.
you do start it in the sideboard, but you're gonna run into if you're gonna win the draft, you're gonna run into whoever the mono red player is.
Right.
Given that Bing is 3 colors, I don't hate taking explosives
Yeah,
here.
I like that. Terastodon's still in the pack. There
Yeah.
may not be a reanimator player, or there's like one who's getting super hooked up this pack.
Yeah. I like smokestacks too, but the decks I try to
Not in this deck.
draft with smokestack, do not end up working as well as I would like. It's just sweet.
Yeah.
Wow, the Fire Blast is still there.
He's going to cut it.
He's just like, I do not want to play against.
I mean, we weren't really looking at all the red cards, but there might have been a better red card in that pack. The Fire Blast is a nice finisher.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take Goblin Guide over Fire Blast, but I mean,
Yeah,
other than the premium 1-drops, or maybe a Lightning Bolt.
Ooh.
Reanimate is still there.
I like Liliana, though. Liliana's really good.
Oh, granted. I mean, Thieving Magpie is not bad for this deck either, but
I would love if this deck could just cut the white and just play blue-black. I think if blue was more open than maybe it looked like it was going to be, and black is certainly open.
Sphinx's
Oh,
Rev.
there.
We're not cutting the white now.
Yeah, never mind. I was going to say, just take the Gatekeeper, go blue-black, but now, given
Not
that you
over
have a
Sphinx's-
Sphinx's Rev,
yeah.
I think you can just play it. Bing really has to prioritize mana fixing, though.
Yeah. Oh,
He
he put the
it
Rev in the sideboard?
Interestingly.
He's just mocking us.
Yeah.
I haven't played much with Gul'Dra's Assassin. It doesn't seem
No,
all that
I don't.
impressive.
I don't like the level up creatures. You just sink
Yeah.
so much mana into them before they do anything, and people have removal. It's not like a. It's close. It's sort of halfway between constructed and limited in that sense. Maybe closer to constructed.
Yeah, I would probably have gone with the Pithing Needle just because it's a good sideboard card.
Same.
It's nice picking up the Ancient Grudge because we don't want that cast against us.
He
All right,
really
let's see
does
what he
still has
picks up in this last pack here.
Swords are good, but not in his deck.
I
He's
want to
got-
say Flooded Strand here.
Yeah, so he went. Sword kind of sticks out, but he's got what 4 creatures.
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
Sword's the best card in this pack, but not for his deck.
Yeah.
Though Fetid Heath actually might be better.
Yeah, he actually switched over.
Funny.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the fact that it casts, you have 2 double black spells and 2 double white spells,
Yeah.
and just cast them off one of any color.
It's
land.
not like he has a bunch of dual lands to go get with the Flooded Strand either.
Yeah,
Right.
if he did. Though Bing has to prioritize mana here. He has to take one of the 2 lands, I think. Because this isn't actually that powerful of a pack anyway.
Agreed. I mean, the best card for his deck, the best spell is probably the Force of Will, which is not great in
Yeah,
5 blue
I, mean,
cards
I
at this
think
point.
Hero's Downfall.
Hero's Downfall
maybe.
would have been fine
Yeah.
too, but
Yeah, you're
but
right.
either way, he should just take the land. I mean,
He took Flooded Strand, not
Yeah.
Fetid Heath.
you can't be in this deck like this without taking a lot of land. Basalt Monolith is actually a pretty nice one too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's an anime dead there that stands out to me as well. Not for him,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just
Yeah.
I'm constantly aware of the good strategies
don't
when
think
they don't get picked
There,
up.
I don't think there's a Reanimator player at this table.
I think
Yeah.
you're right.
Bing looking at potentially a Sphere of the
Johnny
Suns.
Vengeance, or is he just
I
trolling
think he was
us
just
now?
looking at the lands he had in his sideboard to see if he could realistically cast a Johnny.
And he's not far off, right?
It's got to be Basalt.
Sulphurous
Yeah, Basalt
Springs,
Mall.
Lava Claw reaches.
But his mana's going to be bad already.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think adding another color is just kind of insane. Yeah, I like Basalt Monolith. I mean, turn 4 Karns is what you want.
So you guys think Bing looks happy? He shakes his head right on cue.
I don't believe he should be happy at this point in time.
No, I agree.
I mean, this deck has a lot of powerful cards. I just
does.
the mana just worries me.
Yeah, they're expensive and they're 3 colors.
Yeah.
Solidly 3.
I like Hinterarok. Hinterarok is a
Yeah.
very, very good card.
Oh, speaking of mana issues, but yeah, he's double across all 3 colors without a lot of fixing.
Might be taking a crumbling necropolis here.
Is that what he did?
Uh,
I don't see the him.
He
Yeah, he
did.
took the
He
Crumbling
did. Yeah,
Necropolis.
just as a dual land.
well, I mean, he's got 18 cards in his main deck right now. He only has 2 white cards. It's potential that he can cut the 2 double color white cards and then play maybe just Sphinx's Revelation off like a Flooded Strand and a Murmuring Bosk.
Okay. Looks like Bing's going to take Disfigure here. He's clearly concerned about getting rushed by some type
Well,
of
his
a
curve's
creature
not
deck.
good.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
He's got Narcolepsy, Doomblade, Disfigure. He's all dedicated fairly early picks to these.
Force Spike.
Yeah, especially if he ends up cutting the white, then he's going to need more removal spells because he's losing the 2 wraths. Thing is, he also needs another finisher. He's got Karn and Grave Titan, but I actually don't think that's quite enough to close out a game. I think you want like one more big card.
Yeah.
Though Revelation does kind of do that.
The one in his sideboard.
Polluted Delta is actually a pretty nice pick here, since that is the exact mana fixing he needs. Unfortunately, cannot get Murmuring Bosk. But so yeah, if Bing can pick up one more big threat, because he's actually gotten good mana. The fact that he picked up a Crumbling Necropolis, a Flight of Strand, and a Polluted Delta this pack is pretty insane. So if he just picks up, I mean, Entreat would have been perfect, but there are other options. I mean, there are other random large things that can win the game here.
Tinker's so bad in the cube.
It looks like he's.
Well, he's like, oh, a Tinker. Oh, that's
he's
not the
going
power
between Maze of Ith and Hallowed Burial here.
I'm with Luis. Take the maze. Give up on the white.
Yeah, I think that's what my preference would be at this point.
The sad part is that Maze of Ith works really well with the Wrath of God and Day of Judgment that he has.
That
you
is
can
true.
Force somebody to overextend
Yeah, even
a
if you're
little.
still white, I'd rather have a maze and 2 wraths than just 3 wraths.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Ooh, Remand is so good. I just don't see how it's in the pack still.
Fair.
That is just one of the best blue cards.
He's looking at Mox Diamond for fixing.
What do you think about Mox Diamond here? That's.
I mean, it's ramp and it's fixing.
Yeah, it does both those things. I mean, Mox Diamond's powerful. I think the fact that
It's hard to ramp to like 6 or 7 when you've had to
Yeah.
discard a land to it.
But when you're in blue and you don't have that many 2-drops and you pass Remand, you can't be happy. I mean, that's.
yeah. Knight's Whisperer, I think, is actually what this deck is looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
This deck can't really do much with Yawgmoth's Will, right?
It shares that with every other deck in the cube.
Yeah. It's like the Tinker. It's just like, I am
Yeah.
in the wrong cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any good threats on the wheel, but Hero's Downfall wheeling is kind of nice, actually.
Yeah, that's really good.
Decks like this are generally vulnerable to Planeswalkers, so being able to handle those is always nice.
All right, so he's sitting on 23 spells that he has pulled aside down there.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to have enough cards. Actually,
Assuming he's white. He hasn't cut the white yet.
Yeah, he hasn't
Not
cut
clear
the
that
white.
he can cut the white.
Right, and he still has Sphinx's Revelation sitting in his sideboard as well, so we'll
if
see
you
what
play
he
white and
decides
blue
with
cards,
that.
you've got to play Revelation. You have Basalt Monolith.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I like Nighthawk.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I actually think that his Short
Short
Fang is
Fang?
actually really good in the control mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 1 Short Fang off a Mox Diamond.
Absolutely.
I actually think that Bing's mana might get there. The fact that he picked up a Mox Diamond too. You know, Vorath Stronghold might actually be a card
Is that
in
a
this
finisher?
deck. Yeah,
You
because
mean the Grave Titan. You
it
never
gets
run
you-
out of Grave
gets your
Titans.
Grave Titan back. You can get your Venser back.
Yeah, it's his second Grave Titan.
Yeah. Ooh, a Chroma's Vengeance could be nice.
He's going to buy you?
It looks like he might have changed his mind. No, he
Yeah.
did buy you.
Yeah, he's got Bayou and Overgrown Tomb, and I guess he can splash Bant Charm if he wants.
Interesting.
All right, and Gravecrawler.
All right, so we have a pile of magic cards here for Bing Luke. How do we
this is
turn
the
this
sort of
into
thing
a
that
deck?
that we were warning against. I feel like he does have a kind of pile of powerful cards without a ton of synergy. I mean, Wrath into big cards is synergy, but in general, it's still not exactly as focused as I would have liked.
Right. So one of the things that you can see is that we're playing on the Magic Online beta, and when you go into the deck building portion, it just keeps the cards that you had already pre-selected as your deck there, so you don't have to redo anything. So Bing is basically toying around with his mana base now and leaving most of his deck down there.
Yeah, which I think is great. I mean, I think that is one of the better things about the drafting process here in the new client is that you get to build your deck during the draft, which I like doing anyway. So, and here you don't have to duplicate that work.
Randy, do you have something over there in the red zone that you wanted to show us?
Yeah, if we can get my mic turned on. Yeah, over. I'm in the red zone, and so I'm in the red zone, and I'm looking at Big Luke's opponent for the first round, which is going to be I'm looking at Bing Luke's opponent for the first round, which is going to be Hannes Karem. Maybe you can get a look at his deck, and you'll see he's gone extremely linear. We talked about having a strategy in this cube being an awesome thing that you want to do.
Okay.
And he's picked a strategy, and he's gone with it. You'll get, if you get a flash of my computer up on, yeah, hey guys, got this awesome red zone. Magic Online lets us flip between all of the different things you can get, and in fact, this deck was so easy to build that now I think Hannes has submitted it, and he's off. He's saved
So
it.
he's already. We weren't fast enough.
Not fast enough.
All right, let's take a look.
What it is though is he went White Weenie. He's got he's got both of the Armageddons. So there's Armageddon itself, and there's also Ravages of War. He's got a ton of white 2-drops. He's got a couple of the Crusade effects. Oh, we do have his deck in the background. I think if we can get my computer up. There, you get a quick look at it. So that is one strike. Yeah, exactly. It is a mono white. That is 17 planes, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there's a Flagstones in there.
Flagstones to go with the Geddons.
Yeah, 15 or 16 planes. Mono white. His mana is going to be gorgeous. He's got 2-2-drops. Maybe he'd like another one of those. But, he's got the Journey, a pile of 2s. He's got the, there's an Ajani in there. I think the Spear got to him super late.
It did, yeah. We saw Bing pass that.
Right. And now he's going to go. He's going to go start. He's so happy with his deck. He's going off to look at his constructed decks. I think you got a peek at his modern deck just there. Right. So both of the Armageddons. The Armageddon. He's got the Heliod in there. Restoration Angel, Sublime Archangel, and a sword. Sword of War and Peace. Sort of the highlight. I'm not normally a fan of White Weenie in this cube because it feels like you can't actually be fast enough to fight the broken decks and resilient enough. But you know what? The best White Weenie deck has got. A couple of 1-drops, couple of Crusades, a sword, and 2 Armageddons.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of White Weenie in this cube, Luis?
I think it's generally not good. I mean, it's one of the archetypes that I think does not tend to perform all that well because it's slower than Mono Red and still doesn't have that much disruption. But this is a very good example of it. I mean, when we were talking earlier, we said the only way that deck works is if it has Armageddon, and this has both the Armageddons.
Yes.
And that is exactly what the deck needs.
Exactly.
Right, why don't we pop back over to Bing Luke here and see what he decided on for his build. He's still toying around with his mana. Thanks, Randy. We're going to be popping over to Randy often here during the course of the week, and he's going to be in the red zone where he belongs, battling. And this is what Bing came up with here. He's got 23, including the Mox Diamond down there. Also, the Maze of Ith, it looks like he's counted that as a spell.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a spell, except it has the additional bonus so you can discard it to Mox Diamond if you really need to.
And it looks like he did stick with white, and Sphinx's Revelation didn't make the cut here, Luis.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I mean, I think that he will end up wanting to build an Esper, and especially given that he's playing against White Weenie, though he doesn't know that yet. Playing all the Wraths is good, but if you're playing Wraths, like, why not play Revelation? You have Basalt Monolith in your deck. You can ramp it into a giant Sphinx's Revelation.
Right.
So that's I think the biggest change I would make. I'm not sure what I would cut for it. Probably just the Bant Charm at this point, but and just not be tempted to add another color to the deck.
So what's the deal with the Bant Charm? Is that just give him access to something that he doesn't otherwise have access to? Like, he's going out on a limb here, right? We were already a little concerned about his mana just being 3 colors, and now he's got a free-ish splash for Bant Charm here.
It doesn't cost him a ton because I think he was going to play the Grasslands anyway because it can get Murmuring Bosk. But and Bayou is free with the Polluted Delta in your deck because it just counts as swamp.
Right.
So it doesn't actually cost him anything mana base wise, but what it does cost him is every now and then he's going to draw a Bant Charm and not be able to cast it.
Right. And Bant Charm, I mean, it's not exactly one of the premium cards in the cube, but it does have a lot of uses.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine card, and I don't think it's terrible to play it or anything, but I do think that it doesn't add a new dimension to his deck.
Right.
I mean, I would be more tempted to splash for another way to kill them rather than a Bant Charm. But again, he doesn't have one of those, unfortunately. Entreat the Angels would have been nice here, though.
It would have been, yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think the Sphinx's Revelation is sort of the big question that when we bump into to Bing later, we'll make sure to ask him about that one. I mean, he's got Basalt Monolith, Palladium Mirror, Pristine Talisman. He's also got an Ever-Flowing Chalice as well. And that's a lot of ways to get a heck of a lot of value from that. Randy, what do you have over there in the red zone?
Yeah, I've been poking around at some of the other decks, and Seth Manfield has an interesting take on this format. I talked to Seth last night, and he said, he's open, and he just wants to draft good cards. He didn't seem like there were archetypes he wanted to zero in on. And if you look at his deck, I mean, it's a pile of good cards, but it's also kind of a good archetype. He's basically the blue-white-red control deck that people play in Modern these days. I mean, he's got a nice suite of burn. He's got, pretty control cards. He's got some big stuff sitting at the top of the curve. kind of an interesting. I haven't really seen this. I mean, this isn't a deck that I've drafted a lot. I don't know, Luis, if you have a lot of experience with this, but it looks good to me just glancing at it.
I haven't drafted a deck that looks quite like this. The real important part is what's his mana look like, because he's got a lot of different things. He's got looks like a Celestial Colony, Cascade Bluff, Flooded Strand, Glacial Fortress.
He's got
Hallowed
Fountain.
And Hallowed Fountain. So his mana actually, it does look like it's
There's
up
a
to
Windsweep Heath at the bottom, too.
Okay, yeah, that's important, too, because the first thing I would be concerned with would be how am I going to cast all my spells when I've got doubles in 3 different colors? But it looks like he's got that under control.
Yeah, and he's actually in the other draft pod. You get a look at his draft pod there. So the players are saving off their decks, and then they'll roll up the pairings. We are controlling the pairings with, we've got an on-site scorekeeper, so we're not just automating that process. And so round one, my point is, it'll be a minute or two, and then we'll get round one up and running and underway.
Yeah, those are going to be set. You mentioned it a minute ago, Randy. We're going to be seeing Bing Luke versus Hannes Karem here in the first round. I will say also, Bing has not submitted yet. He's still kind of toying around here. So we don't know what his exact final build is, though he does have 40 cards down there. And it looks like he's just making maybe mana-based tweaks here.
He does not look happy. I mean, that's what I see. I look at Bing Luke. And
well,
he's got the slouch.
He did.
He's got the train wreck pose going on, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just added a bunch of other lands to his deck, but he's just going to put them in his board so he can mess around with them. I mean, I don't know how Bing normally looks when he plays Magic Online. This could be Bing, winning the mocks.
Yeah.
But
I have to go travel another one.
Let's just say, were I Bing, I would not be super thrilled with this deck.
Yeah, if you why don't we put it on the 1 out of 10 here? Where does this deck come in for you?
This is probably like a 4.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it does have powerful cards. I like that it has Basalt Monolith, into Karn, and Grave Titan.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it has Liliana Vest and Vampiric Tutor, so it can find some of these cards. And, if your mana works, which is not a given,
right.
I like the fact that Bing has a couple Wraths. Though it looks like he still has them in there. Yeah, I like the fact that he has a couple Wraths. So he's got things going for him.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest problem is you've got a little bit dicey mana and a little bit of a clunky deck. And
yeah.
I keep mentioning this, but I think he's like a win condition short. I feel like with Grave Titan and Venser and Seagate Oracle and Palladium Mirror being the only things that can deal lethal damage, you're taking a risk. I mean, you're not necessarily. I guess Liliana actually technically can as well.
Yes.
It can reanimate a bunch of stuff. Karn can keep restarting the game, and I suppose you can get some guys with that too.
Yes.
But for the most part, I would say that. You don't have a ton of ways to actually win the game, and I would be concerned about that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some decks that are going to be able to counter your Karn, wrath away your Grave Titan, and then how do you kill them?
Right. All right. So I think that he did. Randy, you have something over there at the red zone?
Yes, we were talking about the Reanimator deck that you can draft in this cube.
Ooh, did someone get there?
It looks like somebody got there. This is Nate Price just told me it's Bruno. It's Bruno Diaz has gotten it. So you take a look at his deck here, and you've got the Putrid Imp to discard, you've got the Reanimate, you've got the Vampiric Tutor, Animate Dead, Exhume. That is the suite of black that you want to get. Even Liliana the Veil, I mean, that discard ability can let you put a fatty in the graveyard.
And Unburial Rites.
Unburial Rites is nice. The Living Death can be absolutely ridiculous in a deck like this if you discard a couple of those things. So in terms of fatties, I've seen better decks in terms of the crazy fatties that you can put in the graveyard, but I mean, a Chroma can get the job done. Vizara, Kakusho, even Aetherling.
Aetherling's nice because you can just keep blinking it out.
Absolutely.
Even if you animate Dead it or whatever, you can
blink
can
it
knock
out,
it off.
Living Death. It comes back.
And he's even got Night Veil Spectre for just the sweet little threat. I mean, Night Veil Spectre is a really good card in this cube.
Yeah, no. So Bruno's in the other pod, right? Not the one with Hannes.
Yeah, he's got the Vampiric Tutor. So
yeah. So he's in the other pod. So we are seeing some of the decks come up as. Some of the decks are coming up as two ofs. We're seeing cards duplicate because there are two pods, and so each pod is independent.
He can't play Bing or Hannes.
Exactly. And they will, of course, play within those pods. So, yeah, I don't think there's a Reanimator deck in the pod where Bing is, but here you get a really nice sweet one. Oh, and he even did the sort by converted mana cost for us.
Very
Thanks,
nice.
Bruno.
Yeah, he's even got him to Turok and Stupor.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got some good disruption. Also, Dismember, Hero's Downfall. Yeah, this deck looks very good. Hypnotic Spectre. This is just a good blue-black deck with a bunch of reanimation cards in it,
Yes.
too.
Yeah, no, I like a lot. What I guess he doesn't have, like, an Entomb or... He's going to have to sort of draw the fatties naturally.
He's got a Vampiric Tutor, so he's got basically 5 different big cards to reanimate if you count Tutor as one, but he even has Dark Ritual, so he can turn one a Chroma here or something like that. Dark Ritual, Putrid Imp, Exhume, a Chroma.
Yeah, Exhume is shockingly good. There's so many people are drafting decks without a lot of creatures that it totally counts. It's sort of it might be the best best reanimation spell in the cube. It's probably not better than Animate Dead, but I mean it's definitely up there on the short list.
You can't Animate Dead a Chroma, so he does have a reason to play that. Yeah.
Nate Price, our scout on the floor, also says there's 1 mono red in each draft.
Well, that is the correct number. I mean, we haven't looked at what those decks look like, but given just the information that there's 1 in each draft.
Yeah, I'm like him. I tried looking, by the way. I zoomed in on Ansi Akio's computer. Like 2 minutes into the deck build, his deck had already been saved. It was already off camera, so I didn't think of it at the time. But yeah, if he's got mono red and he's the only mono red, that doesn't take very long to build.
No, you cut your 4 worst spells and then you add 17 mountains.
I mean, it's particularly nice in the beta where you can build your deck during the draft, right? I definitely think that's one of the nicest things about the open beta client for Magic Online.
Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier. It is a lot of fun. So that's pretty sweet. Looks like we're going to be getting started pretty soon here.
Yes, we are. I am just making sure that we're in the right room to be able to watch the games because we're going to be watching them on Magic Online. We're going to be bringing them up on the screen for you, of course, at home. And I just want to make sure that I'm in the right area here.
Marshall's getting serious, which is the name of the room where they're playing their games.
All right, so I see that the players are in there, though they have not started yet.
Yeah.
So once they're ready to go, though, we will be bringing you Bing Luke versus Hannes Krem. And so this is, again, just to sort of put an overview on the tournament. We're going to be playing Cube here. We've got constructed round after this.
So, yeah, 3 rounds of Cube, followed by 4 rounds of Modern today.
Right. And then tomorrow we're going to come back and we're going to do another draft, but this time it's Born of the Gods Theros, and then we're going to play some Standard.
Yeah. So, given that there's 1 mono red deck in each cube, what do you think their combined record is going to be out of 6? Well, Randy's got something for us. 5-1.
5-1?
Yeah. Okay, that would have been my
5-1, yeah. I got one of the mono red decks. If you want to take a look at what David Kaufman has managed to draft, let's get my screen up there. This is the deck we've been talking about.
All right. Goblin Guide check.
Yeah, this looks like a fine
example
of
check.
it.
Any Sulfuric Vortex? No Sulfuric Vortex, but I would say other than that, he's even got the Greater Gargadon. I actually like Thundermaw. I think you have room for like 1 or 2 5-drop spells.
Yeah.
And Zealous Conscript is also a really good one.
Yep.
Yeah, this deck's pretty close to perfect, actually. There's no cards in here I dislike, and it's got a lot of the hits that you really want. Does he have any non-basics?
How good is Porphyros?
You know, I haven't played with it yet in this cube.
Yeah, I tried it once and it felt a little bit slow to me. That might be the worst card in this deck, which tells you something about the deck, right?
But it does have 18 creatures on the deck. So given that 18 creatures, I mean, this is a creature-heavy version.
Yeah, just how many of those creatures are going to be left in your hand after you play Porphyros on turn 4?
Right.
I mean, we're picking nits, but oh wow, look at how much is in the sideboard.
This is just the sick brags part.
Yes.
Jeez.
I think this is Nate Price telling him to do this. I don't think David is bragging, but yes.
I would be tempted to play Skullcrack. In general, I'm pretty happy with that card. I think you just run it. And
Ravenous Baboons.
Ravenous Baboons and Price of Progress. I would not main deck the Price. I might main deck Ravenous Baboons.
Yeah, I would think about it. Maybe this deck may be deep enough that it doesn't need to.
Yeah, I think this deck's definitely going to want to look at siding those in, though. When you play against someone and they play 4 or 5 non-basics in one of the games, you're going to want to side in Price of Progress.
Or if somebody plays one of the Karus and you've Ravenous Baboon that thing?
Yeah, Ravenous Babooning a Karun is nice. Also, Searing Blood's an easy card to take out. I would main deck it. I think there's enough creatures running around that it's fine. But against a control deck, you can easily cut that card. It's just like Searing Blaze, unsurprisingly. Can I revise my guess of 5-1?
You want to go up from here?
No, I think 5-1's actually pretty close.
Okay,
I would say that 5-1 is more likely than any other one, but it's obviously still not the most likely overall.
Right.
Yep.
I'll take the field against 5-1.
Right.
Yeah.
but
if I have to pick one.
I mean, it's 5-1 followed by 4-2 are probably the two most likely results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Followed by 6-0.
Yeah, I think followed by 6-0.
Yeah.
So, granted, we didn't see the other deck, but if you're drafting mono red and you're the only person at the table, they can't look that different. Like, it can't be bad.
Yeah, and the other deck is drafted by the guy who top-8'd the last PT and cashed the last GP.
Oh, this is Ansi Akio, yeah.
All right, so players are just about ready to get going, and once they do, we're going to have Bing Luke versus Hannes Krem. This is going to be interesting. Hannes drafted a deck. I don't think I've played with or against mono white in the cube in this iteration.
I played against it once, and I mean, it's again not hugely disruptive unless you have Armageddon.
Right.
Hannes has both the Armageddons.
Yeah, that's really the key. I mean, the funny part is the decks that I tend to draft, and I think a lot of people draft decks like this, which are the sweet decks, right? Like things that are trying to do crazy, awesome stuff. You know, if my opponent plays a mountain, I'm like, we're done. You know, we're done. But if my opponent plays like a Savannah Lions, I'm like,
yeah,
we're okay.
Well, when Hannes top-8 Worlds in 2008, he was playing Kithkin, so.
Really?
Yeah, we're deep into his wheelhouse.
So he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
All right, well, this could get ugly from Bing Luke's side, though. It'll be interesting. We did see Bing Luke dedicate a lot of picks to spot removal, and he also has the 2 Wrath of God effects as well.
I mean, Bing can play turn 2 Basalt Monolith, turn 3 Karn or Grave Titan.
Yeah, that's also...
these are things his deck can do.
Yeah.
So it might not be the prettiest deck, but it can actually, explode with some pretty awesome plays. And he has 2 Wraths. I mean,
his
the
Wraths
White
are
Wing
pretty
deck's going to have a hard
maximized
time.
here, right?
Hannes is going to have to, get 2 creatures out, then cast Armageddon. If Bing keeps Wrathing those 2 creatures away, you never have an opportunity to cast Armageddon.
Right.
And Bing does have multiple, artifact accelerants where Armageddoning into a Everflowing Chalice with like 2 or 3 counters is not as good as you would like.
Right, he's 1 or 2. Although it will, Hannes might not know it at the time, but he'll probably figure it out as the matches go that it will affect Bing's ability to cast spells from a color perspective because his mana is a little sketchy.
You're saying Armageddon will affect Bing's ability to cast spells?
Martial Cycle 2040. Yeah.
There we go. I was waiting for the quote.
Yeah, I meant for the colors, but I realized about halfway through the sentence that I'd buried myself. And, I'm like, well, got to ride this one out.
And as a good co-commentator does, I helped
you
bury
buried me, right?
Yeah.
Like, put the dirt, walk away. All right, I see the matches are being populated right now, so we're gonna have them. We're gonna be down there in just a second.